Hey everyone, welcome to Distilled. How are you doing, Kira?
I'm doing great, Dan. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, last week we were down in Florida for Exponential. What was the coolest thing that you saw happen at Exponential, or coolest part of Exponential Conference that you saw?
Okay, this is going to sound really small, but I was going around asking people questions about bookkeeping and accounting for fun. I encountered this gentleman who was wearing a Santa hat and a snow yeti pajama pants. We were talking, and at the very end of it, he just said, "Here you go." And he hands me this itty bitty Jesus figurine. And it just felt like a win. I felt like a winner receiving this tiny Jesus figurine. Now, the sad part is I put it on our booth table temporarily, walked away. When I came back, Jesus was gone.
Oh,
I don't know if that was the Holy Spirit or if that was theft.
yeah. Wow. Okay. We got to sponsor the speaker lounge and we got to hang out with a bunch of different speakers that were talking at the conference and connect with them. So that was just super fun to be in there and have some really cool conversations.
I saw the setup in there of all the chairs and the couches and the rugs. It was beautiful.
They do a good job. They take care of the speakers, and it's fun to hang out in there. And hopefully, the speakers felt honored as part of that too.
There were some full-size bags of M&Ms that caught my eye.
Yeah, actually, there's a couple security guards making sure you didn't come steal those full-size bags.
Got it. That's why I was only admitted one time. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, I'm going to give you a warning because I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about, and everyone's going to click next episode or end or stop because it's going to sound boring. We're not talking about the boring side of this. We're talking about how to actually make this helpful to your mission and vision. So with that, drum roll, we are talking about an effective chart of accounts. Now, if you're listening to this, you might not even know what a chart of account is, and that's okay. Let me just go over real quick what that means, and then we're going to talk about how to make it so that it actually makes ministry easier for you and your team, and it helps you keep your dollars on mission and takes a lot of that burden away. The chart of accounts is basically all the categories when you think about your finances in your accounting software. So this could be things like your different ministries, it could be things like your building expenses, staffing expenses, etc. So that's a chart of accounts. That's about as technical as we're going to get. Now, what we want to talk about is how to make it effective. Okay. So there's just a few things to think about here. One is simplicity is better. We sometimes have churches that come in with these really long chart of accounts, pages and pages, and every little detail. It's like pens for the office, for the high school ministry that's under this. It's like super burdensome. It's very hard to read. And often those churches don't even look at their reports because they're too burdened. They come, they onboard with us, and we're able to simplify it for them and really give them visibility. You don't want your chart accounts to be burdened. Don't want it to be over detailed. With that, you also want it to be easy to understand. If someone asks, how much is our youth ministry spending? You want to be able to look and understand that, not have to pull from a bunch of different categories or try to feel like it's overly complicated. And the last piece is it should be aligned with your mission and vision. You should be telling your money where to go when you're budgeting. Then you should see that in your reports and say, hey, we wanted to spend X amount of dollars in this ministry. Here's a report that says how much money we spent towards that ministry and if we're on budget or not and what that spending has gone towards.
What is the value of an effective chart of accounts? Why do we need that? Why does it matter?
Yeah, great question. And I think this is one of those things that often there's stock categories in accounting, in your accounting software. So people start with that and they start adding them. And before they know, they've got 10 pages. And then they ask for a P&L and there's it's just overwhelming. And people don't even realize you can control all of that and you can put in the categories. You tell them what categories need to be in there. So you want clarity. You want to understand where you're spending your money, and from that, then you can make better decisions. We see it where sometimes churches are budgeting for something and their reports are totally different. They're doing the work to budget, but they don't even know if they're spending along that budget. Those two things should be the same. If you're budgeting for it, you should have a spot on your accounting software in your chart of accounts. If you're not budgeting for it, you shouldn't be spending money for it. Those two things should be aligned. The other thing I love about it is if you make it simple, it's actually better for your team. It relieves the burden on your ministry leaders and people that are spending money. We literally see teams come in and it's they have to if they go to a store and they spend $60 or $70 and they're splitting it into 3 or 4 categories. This was office supplies and this was for games and this was for a gathering event or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're spending it for youth night. So if you can simplify and say, hey, youth group, you have this amount of money. When your ministry leader goes to the store to spend, they get one receipt, they put it in youth ministry. and they're done. Just to see that simplicity where it's you're not splitting receipts. So it makes it just alleviates that burden, and it gets people to actually fill out their app for their expense reports. Makes it real simple to be able to categorize their expenses.
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on how that could potentially impact communicating with the congregation. Something we talk about a lot here at Parable is cultivating a community of generosity within your church. You want that to be part of the culture. And so having that clarity, that ability to streamline what you're talking about could potentially help communicating your mission, your vision, your spend to your congregation. Is that true?
100%. If you have dollars random spread out throughout your chart of accounts, it's really hard. How much are we spending on the next generation or towards mission? Where we like to see it well organized to align with your mission and vision. Most churches, there's really a handful of things maybe that they're really passionate about, really feel like God has called that particular church to do. If you can show very clearly where the dollars are going to support that, that actually helps people see the vision and helps see how their dollars are contributing to that. If your chart account doesn't do that, then it kind of loses that connection. You're not able to get the same reports. And even as a church, your leadership team, you might not even be able to understand where dollars are going. We do see that a lot, and we've said it before, but we see churches that say we're about ABC. We clean up their charts and we're like, hey, you're really about XYZ. You're not spending money on A, B, and C. We love when that happens where churches say, okay, let's switch that and let's focus on the things that are really important to our mission and vision.
Are there standard categories that churches should have on there?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this super basic. We always have at least 5 core top categories. You're going to have subcategories under this, but the 5 that we would recommend is staffing, building or facilities, operations or general admin, that kind of category, and then ministries and missions. The reason why is because these are very standard categories in the church space and can actually get very good benchmarks about how much money or what percentage of your budget should go into each of these areas. They are the main areas of spending for churches. Now, sometimes churches have unique things or particular things. They might have a 6th or a 7th category, but we recommend those 5 categories. And under it, you would break down. You might have kids ministry, middle school, high school, etc. under ministries that each have their own categories. But again, that would be shaped a little bit by your church. These 5 header categories are the ones we recommend.
Align with what we talk about in budgeting, which I'm sure will come in a later episode of Distilled, but with budgeting percentages, how to balance all of that out in terms of what should go where. Those categories just line perfectly up, which is kind of cool.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And we want those to be aligned so that you're making one plan and then you're tracking with this against the same categories.
Okay, Dan, give it to me straight. What is one takeaway or action item every pastor needs from this episode?
I would say look at your COA, and I know that sounds scary, but just think about it and say, hey, how can I simplify this? Is it clear from looking at our report what our mission and vision is? If you just gave your report to someone else, could they see what's really important to the church because they see where you're spending the money and how much you're spending the money? But just think about relieving the burden for your ministry leaders. Free up time for your staff and align your mission and vision by doing this. We do help people. If you need help, we can do this as part of our service as a chartered account optimization. So if you need help, we'd love to talk with you. You can find out more at churchfinancemadesimple.com. I'll see you soon.
See you later.